The views and opinions on the Craig L. Hayes Show do not necessarily reflect those of Westgate Resorts, ownership, or management. And now, on with the show.
Extra, read all about it. Get your copies while they last. Stop the presses.
And now for something completely different.
There's no business like show business. Are we not entertained? Prepare yourself for a little sensory overload. Stand by to roll show intro. Roll show intro in 3, 2, 1, go. It's showtime. The Craig L. Hayes Show.
Hello, America, family, friends, and listeners all around this planet we call home. This is It's Showtime, the Craig L. Hayes Show. We're coming to you live from Elvis Presley's dressing room here at the Westgate Resort Las Vegas, here in Las Vegas, or as I call it, the Southern Command Center. And today is the 21st of December, 2025. And that means it's the winter solstice. The beginning of winter officially begins today. Let's get a little business out of the way because I have some people to thank for letting me be here in this room on this stage and to do these interviews with people that have been in show business all of their lives like I have. First, we want to start with Cammie Christensen. She's the president of the hotel, and she has been so kind about letting us do these interviews. And Dawn Rawl, she's the vice president of entertainment and marketing, and she's been a wonderful advocate of the show. And John Peer, the technical director of entertainment, and they've all been so gracious to let me do this show and keep the history of this room and showbiz going and talking about the history of our city and just the general entertainment all around the country where people have worked in other places. So today's show, we're going to continue with our interviews, and we're going to talk to a couple of people I've known for quite some time, like 30 plus years each, probably almost 40 in some cases. And first, we're going to introduce you to Jeff Morgan and Frieda Bronfman Morgan. Welcome to the show, guys.
Thank you so much.
Or guy and gal, I should say. Be correct and polite. Welcome.
Thank you.
Hey, well, Jeff, before we get going on any of this, I'd like you guys to talk a little bit about how you grew up, or where you grew up, how you got into the business. And I know I've known you since the days we did Las Vegas Scenery Studios.
Yes.
And I was working, actually, when I first started, was over at the Jubilee, just down the street from you guys over there on Harmon and Colville.
Mm-hmm.
And you guys were up on Arville and
right behind the Palms.
Yep, right there. And
yep.
So there's a little history that we go back, and I met you through Bill Ballard.
Bill Ballard, yep, my father-in-law at the time.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's a while ago. That's like
yes, it
40,
was.
like 45 years ago, man.
Yep.
That's
78 when I started, 78, 79 when I started over there pushing a broom around.
Wow.
Yep.
That's awesome. So, and Frieda, you and I worked together at Splash, Feel the Magic Come Alive. Yeah. We did that for, I was there for 6.5 years.
I was there for 8.
8 years.
Yeah.
And you just stayed to going up and down those stairs carrying all those heavy costumes, and that's why you don't have any knees left, right?
Yep. It wasn't, back then it wasn't that bad, running up and down, and we were young and...
Young and dumb.
Yeah.
So, I don't know who'd like to go first. I don't, if you want to draw straws and say, just tell me a little bit, let's talk a little bit about your past, where you came from.
Yeah, I'll be happy to go.
Why don't you start then, Jeff?
Yeah, well, thank you, Craig. Always an honor to talk to you, and great to see you again after so many years. Yeah, I got my start at Las Vegas Scenery Studios. Growing up, I actually wanted to be a NASCAR racer. And I've had people that were willing to build a garage for me and get started, and then, of course, things developed, went different directions when I met my my wife at the time in school, and her father, as you mentioned, Bill Ballard, got me into this union, got me into working Las Vegas Scenery Studios. Obviously, things went from there. Eventually, over the years, of course, we were doing a lot of the Jerry Lewis telethon scenery and stuff, and I was one of the guys that majority of my time during that show was building the tote board. We've been involved in building a lot of different shows, so a lot of different scenic elements. Eventually, I got to a point where I'm out doing film work. I got to do Crime Story second season. Casino, full 6 months on Casino. Ace's Office was my particular set with that. Las Vegas foreman for 3,000 Miles to Graceland. I was a foreman for The Strip TV show. In and out, went to L.A., worked last bit of Ocean's 11 over there. Got into doing automation. Never done it before. I was working for Pat Bash. And at the Rio for Penn and Teller. Pat pulled me out after a year from there. Him, myself, Tim Sloan, we flew to Montreal, Canada, looked at the scenic elements that were going to be installed at the Coliseum. I was invited to be part of the automation team with them. Worked the full 6 years, a new day, automation, went to Phantom, did the last years there, and went to PRG, was working scenic over there for a while. Got involved in a major auto accident where I nearly lost my right leg. After that, Pat contacted me, wanted to know if I was interested in position with him and his company, and that's where I still am at today.
Oh, nice. Very good. Where were you born?
I was born in Chicopee, Massachusetts. My father was stationed in the Air Force. So we traveled around a little bit, states. We lived up at Goose Air Force Base, Labrador, Canada. He was stationed at Udorn Air Base, Thailand, the last year of Vietnam. We moved to Seneca Army Depot in New York, Finger Lakes region area. After he got back, we were stationed out here at Nellis Air Force Base, where my father retired. And I'm still here today.
Well, that was a quick overview right there.
Very quick.
How about you, Frieda? Where were you born and raised?
I was born in East LA and grew up in Hollywood and went to design school, and I used to design children's wear in LA, and decided to move to Vegas because I really liked it. Came out here and my idea was to open a boutique, and somebody introduced me to the union and I ended up working at Splash. And I was there for 8 years, and then I thought, well, I might as well stick out another 2 and have 10 years towards a pension. But things changed, and it turned to 30. And I worked Splash, and I worked all the production shows, and the last 20 years at Jubilee. And in between that, I did some movies, and I did commercials, and ice shows, and musicals, and ended up here doing showgirl costumes, and very different than children's wear, but in LA there's no pension or anything, so, and I didn't even realize the union there, I could have been doing there what I did here, but I ended up here instead.
Well, that's okay, right?
Yeah, and still here.
Yep, you're still here. No, I understand that, how you get going on someplace and you plan, oh, I'll be there a few years, and then you look back and, well, I've been here 30 years? Wow.
Yeah.
That was,
It does go by fast.
yeah, that was me here at this place as head carpenter on this stage here. It was like, when I got asked to come over here, I was like, okay, I'll come over. And I said, I could do about 10 years here. I could see myself doing 10, then find something else to go do. And Then I did 10, then I did another 10, and I said, I might as well stick around now. So,
Yeah, I worked
Yeah.
on this property myself. Started off working in the not hotel, sound convention area with John Stevens and Rich Kelly, Paul Bowman, a few of those guys over there. Worked there for a couple years up there. Had a great time. I was asked to take a look at the old Jamboree Bird Show automation over there, and they had some problems. Was able to take apart one of the characters, figure out what was going on, and moved over in the sound department. And my function during my time here was to take care of the animated characters, Jamboree, and did a great job. At the time, I was also doing some taxidermy work, and I decided that I was going to take each bird down and I'm going to strip the feathers off and put new feathers on them. I found bags of different colored feathers at different hobby shops and stripped everything down, got all the birds refeathered. I think we had new costumes made, if not washed. Ever since then, Ray Barrera still calls me the Birdman. So after that was done, they decided to put the new show in there. We were promised a lot of different things. In fact, for me in particular, I was going to get a laptop. I would have been able to go downstairs in the Benihana restaurant, plug in and everything. That never materialized. Got to be a real pain in the butt for me, but that's when I got that call for casino and talked to Steve. Right off the top of my head, I don't remember his last name. But anyways, I took a volunteer leave of absence because they were going to shut the lounge down and start building the new one around that same time period. Steve wanted to send me to Very Light School in Dallas. He wanted me to run that lounge. But I did take off and go to casino, like I mentioned previously. Full 6 months on there, enjoyed it. Steve called me and says, "Hey, I need you to come back." Steve Ripka called me and said, "You need to come back?" I said, "I'm sorry, I can't. I've got like 6 different sets going on right now. I can't leave." So that was my end of my tenure.
the end of the time here at the Las Vegas Hilton when it was called back then.
Yes.
Yeah. So what years did you work here? What years from when to when?
I believe I started 79, would be later than that. Probably about 87-ish, somewhere around that time. I was probably here for 4 or 5 years.
Okay.
I was also working City Lights at night at the same time, too, so very busy.
A typical stagehand, more than one job all the time.
Right.
That's what I try telling people. We don't just do one job.
Yep.
None of us have one job. But anyways, and Frieda, so let's go over to yours. So was Splash the first union job you had? Or?
No,
Okay.
actually, it was at the Sahara on 42nd Street with Maynard Sloat. And when one of the other wardrobe girls, Holly McGinnis, set me up on an interview because the lady she worked with was leaving. And when I met Maynard Sloat, I thought, God, he's so familiar. And back then you had to fill out a paper application. Filled out the application, and when he got into my high school, he said, "Oh, you went to Fairfax High?" And I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "That's my alma mater. You graduated with my son." And I knew his son. I was friends with his son, and he hired me. He didn't even look at the rest of the application. And back then, he gave me the same pay as Holly and told me not to tell her. And that was not that much money back then, but it was, really fun working a musical, and Jim Marshall was on it, and he was like the main character. And that was the first one, and then they were going to close because Maynard got in a fight with Paul Loudon at the time that owned the hotel. So basically, they got in a fight, and that night the show was over. And I ended up signing in and got it the next night. The union started sending me out. And I worked at City Lights. That's where I met my husband, Jeff. And I worked at the Tropicana and at the Stardust. And I ended up at Splash. and worked a couple nights and left. And then they had an opening, and I ended up back there when they redid the show, and was there for 8 years. And when I left there, I was like, I'm never going to work 8 years in a show again. And, I did other shows in between, but then I ended up at Jubilee, and I was there 20 years. But then I also took side calls and made costumes. But yeah, and from being in this business, I've met people that are lifelong friends, and I have a pension, and I'm retired, and that brings me to today.
It really works out quite well. Our pension is really nice to have that sitting there.
I
It's,
start collecting mine on the 1st.
So you're just a couple of weeks away, huh?
Yes, sir.
Woohoo!
Still gonna continue to work outside the union, but January 1st is my official union retirement day.
Yeah, I went a couple of years early, and I was fine with that. I don't need a lot. I don't have enrolling expenses, so. But anyhow, so we're here. We'll go back to Jeff. I'm just going to go bounce back and forth, or you guys can jump in with each other, however you want to do it. But so you were doing work here at what was the Hilton,
Correct.
and then you moved over to Casino. What was that like? How'd you like working the movie?
The movie was absolutely incredible. The people that were working there, I got a call off the blue one day. I've been recommended. I got a letter request. I asked who requested me, and I'm told by the dispatch, it doesn't matter. It was an assistant business agent at the time. It doesn't matter. Can you make it? So I had my conversation with Steve, and we agreed for the volunteer leave of absence. And first thing they had me do when I walked in the shop over there was build a small Tangiers sign that stood out in front of the old the Sands, which was the Tangiers exterior. And next thing I know, they're throwing one set and another piece and that. And got to the point where, like I said, Ace's office was one of my big ones. The lacewood, African lacewood, they explained to me it was like $500 a sheet. Don't mess anything up, But we got it. Al Martin worked with me on that. Absolutely incredible carpenter. Watch him hand wrap in African lace wood, hand wrap all the door trim that we used on there. Great guy, loved him, loved him to death, and thank him for his time with me on that show. All the way out to the cornfield, North Las Vegas area, in bitter cold, watching these people in the shop cut rebar, painting everything green, going out there for days. These guys pounding rebar into the desert out there. Seeing the refrigeration trucks come in and from Stockton, California, I think it was, with all the corn stalks that were in it, and everybody's tie wiring corn stalks to the rebar. Just the different locations. The sports book set up there. Absolutely amazing.
Now, Tom Wright, did he work on that with you too?
It's possible.
Yeah, I remember him saying something. He worked on some of that stuff and was telling me about that African wood that was in that.
Right. Yeah.
And he was like, "Man, that stuff was like so expensive."
Yeah.
Because he worked here. That's when we were doing Starlight Express.
Right. Once the bare wood itself was not really anything, cool to look at until they put the clear gloss on it, which the dimension and the texture of that wood was just absolutely came out, looked absolutely beautiful.
So back then it was $500 a sheet.
That's
for
what they
4x8
told me,
type
and
of
after
thing.
it was all done, they said, well, no, it's actually a lot less. So they just want to make sure that I was very
very careful,
conservative with it. So
and
yes.
don't mess this stuff up. It's expensive if you mess the thing up. So
yeah, yep. But the Italian deli scenery that was in there was a little bit on that. I'm going through my mind right now trying to figure out everything, but it was just an amazing time. Enjoyed the experience. The construction foreman, Rodney, not the foreman, he was the coordinator. I don't remember his last name. He actually did the interview with the vampire. Since there was so many people required to, carpenter-wise, to get everything built in the timeline that they had, Rodney actually brought his guys in, his carpenters from Louisiana, brought them in. And I'll tell you what, these guys were fantastic. Made some good friends with them as well. The whole team, everything, I think, was just fantastic to work with.
Awesome.
Yep.
Yeah. Let's see. I know the Riviera had a lot of the actual hotel
Correct.
shots done in it.
Yep, interior.
Yeah, that was after I was gone. I was over here, so I didn't get to go out and see any of that happen, but that's okay. So,
Right.
but Frieda, let's talk about Splash.
That's where we grew up at Splash.
Yeah, we were all kind of young then. I think, what was I? I don't know. Was that 8? I started there in 88. What year did you start there?
I started in 87, 88,
Okay, so right about the same
Yeah.
time. We were both there.
and actually starting there, and Al Davis and Jay Painter found out that I grew up in Hollywood and went to design school, and Al got me involved. He taught me how to make stage curtains, and I started getting into that. And then Jay Painter actually got me involved with Barclay Shaw, the magician, and I made a few things for him. And after that, Shimada came in, and he heard I did stuff for Barclay Shaw, and I did stuff for Shimada. And then from there, I did stuff for Dirk Arthur. And when Chris Angel opened a show, I think it was in like 2017, I did some of his big illusions, the sewing. And that's how I, at Splash. And then, of course, the girls or whatever did side gigs, and I started making costumes. And that just blossomed. And that was, I did the shows, and that was the union part, but I always did costumes and stuff on the side. But Splash was fun.
Yeah.
That was a fun show back then,
How was it working with Barclay Shaw? He could be, when I was around him, he could be really cantankerous. How was he with you?
Fine.
Yeah.
We got along, and, wardrobe was a little different than you guys. So we, worked with Martha, and basically that was it. We didn't, and of course your mother, or your stepmother, Barbara Hayes, and she was involved with us in wardrobe a lot, because the women always bickered. But it was fun back there, and that's where I actually learned to do a show, because when you do a musical or play, it's a few weeks or whatever, and they're gone. But that Splash was my first show that I stayed at before, in between, when I first went into Splash before I got hired, I went over to City Lights, and I helped during the day redo costumes there for Irma Cooper. And that was more professional. Splash was like, I guess, your junior high
It
show.
was a free-for-all over there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
But it was fun. It was fun back then, And I remember the first time when I went to Jubilee, one of the other wardrobe women said, "Why are you not taking notes when they're telling you the show?" They'd always give us, the dancers would give us notes, and everybody would be writing them down. But I didn't, because I didn't need to. And I said, "Well, I worked at Splash." And she didn't understand it. I said, "We never had two shows the same. The girls would come and say, 'Oh, I'm doing this now,' or 'My friend's in the audience, I'm doing this.' It was just a free-for-all.
Yeah.
And you couldn't write anything, because from one number to the next, it might change anyways.
Yeah.
So I didn't have to take notes. The girls could tell me what's going on. And that was it. I knew it, because I thought, at the beginning, the second show would be different, but obviously it wasn't. I mean, you could be doing the same show, the girls would give you the same notes for a couple weeks before somebody had time off or something, and very different.
Yeah, Splash was one of those shows where they actually would say, if you like the show, come back again, and because we never do the same show twice, and that was pretty accurate. You know,
Yeah.
that's because they had all the cast members, specialty acts, I mean, and the orchestra, the whole 9 yards, and everybody, and it was a 7-day-a-week show.
Yeah.
So everybody had different days off, and people were rotating constantly in that show, and yeah, so you always had something different going on in that show. It was never the same every night. You know, for me out at front of house sound, it was not a big deal. I kind of liked it when it was different all the time, you know, because you get tired of hearing the same splash, hear the music come alive, feel the magic, whatever it was. Like, oh boy, you know, you hear that a few thousand times, it's like enough, you know.
Yep.
Yeah, well, even my time in shows too, where you're doing the same thing over and over again, and all of a sudden, you start daydreaming, and all of a sudden you hear one note, and it kicks in. Oh crap! I missed my cue. So
Or I
now
better
you're
get-
rushing to.
I better get over there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
No, it's amazing how programmed you can get into that and just
Yes.
realize exactly what you're at and the whole 9 yards. But I love the business. I know you
sir.
guys love it, and
Yeah.
sorry that I didn't mute that. Click, 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 click. I was doing something here on my pad, but I don't get rid of any of the my mess ups that I'm doing here. So, anyways, that brings us to the end of this first episode, and we're going to take a quick break, grab a little sip of water, and then we're going to come back and do some more with Jeff and Frieda. We'll be back in just a second. You're listening to It's Showtime, the Craig L. Hayes Show.